what's the worst thing that can happen if I start a business or start a TikTok page or start that? Like, it doesn't work? Okay, great. Well, it wasn't working when you didn't have it anyway. I had made the plan to do it, kind of in 2019. And I said, I'm going to start my own company at the beginning of 2020 because that's going to be the beginning of a new decade for me. Mm-hmm. And I kind of think about my life in terms of like these, every year is a chapter and every decade is kind of like a section of my book. So, so the next section of my book is going to be starting my own company and running my own thing. It's going to be fine. It's all going to be fine. And then people start getting sick in China. Right. Italy shuts down. I'm like, well, now I've already committed to doing this. And so it was pretty terrifying. But it was all for the best because everything got so much cheaper. I was able to get an entire building in Soho for our first office at the same price that I was looking at like one floor. As a CEO, right? Like every day is different.
Right.
And most of your day is pretty shitty because all you deal with is problems that other people can't solve.
Right.
You are an entrepreneur anyway. You're your own boss. You're the CEO of Ryan Serhant, the actor.com and Ryan Serhant, the realestateagent.com. And if you have that muscle where you can wake up every day, take initiative and just go hunt, you can do anything, anywhere. And so I slowly put off acting to the side and just started just going to the office every day and meeting clients every day and meeting strangers on the street. And like my first client base were pregnant women, like pregnant women at Starbucks, pregnant women at Saks Fifth Avenue. If you were pregnant and you had Lululemon pants on in 2008, 2009, or 2010, there was a good chance, and you're on the Upper East Side, that I would find you and tell you how great you look and how you look like you need a bigger apartment. We were selling a building at the end of 2019, going into 2020, before we started the company. We had contracts out, everything. It was $880 million. I'd never done a deal like that before. The commission was 1%, so it was $8.8 million. And then COVID hits, and the money was coming out of the Middle East. The price of oil starts to tank. The buyers say, hey, we just need a little bit of time. You need a little bit of time. We need a little bit of time. Deal slowly falls apart. I worked on it for a year. I think about that deal every day.
$880 I feel like I'm going to think about it every day.
I feel that I like that. That was, it's like a life-changing sale. Absolutely. You know what I mean? Like that was, especially when I was starting my own company. I'm like, all right, so that's going to be my seed money. I'm bootstrapped. Like we, we're not backed by anybody else. We build, for agents, by agents, with agents. Like I am a real estate agent. So I think the agents that work with us, I understand their world because I'm in it with them all day long. Mm-hmm. That was a brutal one. That sucked. Every day you wake up as the CEO of your own bank of time, and that's $1,000. Why on earth would you ever throw out $10? I don't care how much money you have. Like, that's just crazy. And the more and more you think about it that way, and you can put it into your calendar, and you can program your brain to think this way, the more you start to not be a psychopath, the more you start to really value your time and work really, really, really efficiently. It also works really well to get over failure, heartbreak, and loss, right? Like one thing that I will still do to this day is like you can create memory muscle, right? Muscle memory for getting over things, right? Like for example, you lose a big deal or something bad happens or your boyfriend breaks up with you, right? Use time as your asset. Not associating it with money, but go into your calendar 30 days from today at the same exact time and put a calendar invite in your phone and say, how do you feel about Brian? How do you feel about losing the deal at 123 West 23rd Street? It's going to suck. And you're going to cry, you're going to hate it, you might quit, whatever. I guarantee you by the time that calendar invite surprises you in 30 days, you're going to be like, Bri? Oh, that son of a, fuck that guy. I moved on. I'm on my fifth boy, whatever, right? The more you do that, your memory is going to understand the next time you go through loss and you physically go to write that calendar invite, you're going to feel better in half an hour. I don't really prescribe to people saying you should do what you love. Like, I think you should do what you can sell, right? And if that's what you love, great. If it's not, but you're good at selling it, then you'll find things that you love. Mm-hmm. Like I love the game of sales. I don't necessarily love real estate. I meet a lot of people who are in the real estate business who geek out about crown moldings, right? And the La Cornue stove and the waterfall backsplash and the island and these things. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's all beautiful and it'll help me sell it. But I'm not
Emotionally driven.
I'm not emotionally attached to the real estate. I'm emotionally attached to the deals. And I will say to every client I ever work with, like, listen, if you want a broker who's going to say yes to you all day, every day, and tell you how beautiful your house is, there's 80,000 agents in New York City. There's a lot of them who will yes you to death. And when the sale doesn't go through, I'll be here for you. I don't work for you. I don't work for the buyer. I work for the deal.
Like, if you're not Googleable, you got to show me something. Right. You know, I had a guy from a different country. I won't say what country, but, reached out to me kind of right at the beginning of $1 Million Listing, and totally seemed like he was going to try to kill me or sell my body into oil drums or something. And I'm like, this is not real. This is not real. He sent me a photo of his accountant as his proof of funds. I'm like, this is not good. This is not great. Not great. Turns out we ended up doing a deal together for $8.3 million almost a year later, after, like, it was the most traumatizing experience of my life. He just liked to drink and was on Zillow one night and hit me up, and then I follow up relentlessly. The guy makes hundreds of millions of dollars a year in another country in a really weird way, and it is what it is. So, like, sometimes you just never know, and that's part of that addiction, right? I now have to be the person I told them I'm capable of being. God damn it. It's like your parents tell you how great you're going to be and you don't believe in yourself, so you're self-deprecating and whatever. I credit the show for putting like a metaphorical shotgun to my head, because I told them I was going to be the #1 real estate broker in the history of the world. It's like, that's what I'm going to be. If you cast me on this show, be #1. Eventually, I'm going to build my own company. It's going to be the greatest real estate company in the history of the universe. And I said, okay, that better happen. And if it doesn't, we're going to put you on TV to 25 million people around the world in 160 countries. So if you fail, everyone's going to know, Serhant. Like, well, shit. Well, now I can't fail because I can't hide it. Can't hide it. And people go on reality TV all the time, and they do fail, and it is public, and it sucks. So I couldn't do that. So I was like, God damn it. Now I got a camera that follows me around every day for the next 10 years of my life. I have to succeed. We're not actually in the real estate business. We're not developers. We're not contractors. We're in the people business. We help people. We connect those people to buyers. We connect those people to sellers. I think especially when you're early on in your career, you take everything, because you never know. That $2,000 rental client that's going to drag you around, and you don't get paid by the hour. You don't get paid a salary, right? Nope. That person, maybe her uncle, her brother, who she knows, her future girlfriend or boyfriend, like, could be an amazing client. And it's all about those relationships, and there's 1,000 stories to tell that way. I run the brokerage now, and that's really what Owning Manhattan is about. It's running the company, the stresses of running the company, and then the agents that work with me. And so depending on deal price and all that, I mean, almost every deal I do now, except for maybe 1 or 2 a year, I do with our agents. I'm doing with Jeff and Trisha. I'm doing with the other agents that you'll see on the show, and other agents that are at our company who are highly specialized and have domain expertise in kind of what they sell. That way we can expand our business as much as we possibly can. When the cameras go on, that's the Ryan that the world wants to watch. No one's going to turn on TV and watch me do email, right? I get 1,200 emails a day, not including spam. So that ends up being a lot of my life, which is why I have 2 email assistants. If you really want to follow me around and see what I do all day, like, you're going to change the channel real fast. I have a social team of 25 people, as we try to figure out like what to do. They also help the company, right? There's a lot of people at the company that are not just me, but we know that real estate entertainment and real estate content is a huge driver. And so I will always do that. And then we also know that the second bucket of thought leader is important. So we'll also do that. And then we know that day in the life is interesting. So we'll always do that. It's kind of like 3 pieces of content that we create. But we built the firm. So I was at a brokerage for 12 years, and I left to start my own company and named it after myself, like you do, Serhant. And we are a content to commerce real estate company. We sell through content. We have a fleet of videographers, and they run around and they create content for real estate all day long. We put our properties, our listings, and then help our buyers by putting our stuff in front of more eyeballs than anybody else. And no one else is doing it. I don't know why. It's not like rocket science, but we have a massive platform, and it grows every single day, because when you create quality content, especially for real estate, it drives buyers. Like, we
just sold a $15 million townhouse through TikTok, through video. Like we list properties for over $100 million and we get clients through YouTube because there's a trickle down of information, right? On $1 Million Listing, to share what you're seeing, you'd have to take a photo with your phone or text somebody about what you just saw. On TikTok, on YouTube, on Instagram, et cetera, it's all mobile. So you can see a video of a property you really like and you can immediately text it to a friend.
Build something. But yeah, the overhead's real, man. Like I sometimes I remember the name of my employees. Other times I remember how much they cost. But you do have to set boundaries, and you especially have to set boundaries with people that are not your family. It's not about telling your wife, your kids, like, hey, daddy's at home now, so let's pay attention to each other, right? It's not, it's not about telling your wife. It's not about telling your wife and your kids that, hey, daddy's at home now, so let's pay attention to each other. It's about telling your clients, like, hey, just so you know, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 6 to 8, I'm with my daughter. I put her down. Saturdays for me are Dadder days.
I have 70 employees as of today. We bring on a new employee at this point, like our growth scale. We bring on a new employee about every other day. We have about 200 agents now, and we're bringing on an agent about once a day in terms of kind of how we're scaling at the moment. My time, I have people who run each of the businesses. Education is run by Kyle Scott. Media is run by Cody D'Ambrosio. Brokerage is myself, but also Natalie Bitevsky and my kind of brokerage team that run that side of the business. And I am CEO of basically the holding company that owns the 3 main drivers of revenue. And I operate and oversee and manage. So Tuesdays are a big education day. Mondays are a big brokerage day. Wednesdays are a big media day. Thursdays and Fridays are all out. Like tomorrow's Thursday, I go to Naples tomorrow morning. We're doing content and media in Florida for the first half of the day. And then we have a B2B deal with a brokerage in Naples at the end of the day. And I give a speech there. Then Friday morning, I fly back. I think I'm in appointments doing real estate first half of the day and then managing the second half. And so I would probably say it's split relatively pretty evenly at the moment, maybe weighted a little bit more on the real estate side, but it's about leveraging and hiring great people, like overpaying for great talent. The minute I learned that it wasn't all me, even though I thought I was the best and like no one can do it better than me, that's never true. And if you can find great people to work with you who believe in your mission, you can scale so much faster by just building, Even as like my first hire ever that I paid was a driver. And at the time, well, one, I'm in New York. And so I would never drive here to get to appointments. Where would I park? Right. But when I would go into the subway, I would come out super sweaty and I would lose service and it would suck. And then I'd be stressed out the rest of the day going in and out and in and out. Like, how do people do this? Oh, they have drivers. Oh, who has drivers? Hedge fund managers, right? Billionaires have drivers. Like 27-year-olds don't have cars and drivers, especially those who can't afford them. But I've always budgeted expenses by saying, okay, I'm an independent contractor. I'm a salesperson. How much do I need to sell to afford that? I need to make more money and I need to grow my business. Okay, let me really back out the time. How much time do I spend in the subway every single day? I did this math. All right, on average, I spend about an hour and 10 minutes a day in appointments. That times 5, right? Times 4, times 12. Holy shit. That's the amount of time that I'm stuck in the subway without cell service. And this was back then. There's cell service in the subways now. What is my time worth? Let's figure that out. How much money do I want to make this year? Let's back that out as an hourly wage because I don't get paid hourly. Okay, now let's multiply that by all the time I spend in the subway. How much am I paying to ride the subway? Really? It's not the $2.20 or whatever it is to go in the subway, because I don't take the subway anymore. And I saw what that number was. That number was like 3 times what it costs to get a car and get a driver. And it's like, well, then it's just math. And all I have to do is I have to sell 2 extra apartments on average a year to afford this driver. And all of a sudden I had a car and a driver, and it scared the shit out of me. And there was no way I could afford it. I was like, how am I going to do this? A year later, I'm like, why didn't I get this before? We reach most people now through their kids, and kids have influence over the parents. And we're the only company that's doing it, which is why I think we sell so much.
You should intern. You should follow somebody. You should be on a team and you should follow and see what they really do. and see if you really want to do that work, because it's never what you think it is. Like you can't watch Suits and be like, you know what, I'm going to go be a lawyer. You want to know what it's really like to be a lawyer? You're going to sit and you're going to read and you're going to type for 18 hours a day with a bottle of Advil, right? That's what it really means to be a lawyer. And that's not what they show on TV. No. So go follow someone and make sure you understand the first 3 years in the business, you're not going to make any money. If you're okay with that, if you're okay with working holidays, working birthdays, working 7 days a week, working in rain, snow, sleet, the middle of the heat to build something massive for you that no one will ever be able to take away from you, where there literally is no ceiling, because no one's ever going to tell you, hey, you sold too much, right? But they're also not going to pat you on the back when you sold nothing and you got to go get another job. If you're okay with that, give yourself those 3 years, and you can be incredibly successful in this business. This business rewards hard work.